How you're teching.
Well, I'm going back to the Zoom way of doing it and turning this thing off, so I should be able to.
Oh, the signature of a card.
Oh, we should do that right now, Barbara.
Oh, of a card. Okay, we can return. Motion to return to session.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to exit from recess.
Second motion.
Second, now what? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. 3 in favor, 0 opposing, 0 abstaining. Back in session.
I'm sorry to those who are out there trying to follow along with us. The entire system froze up, so we kind of switched back to the old way of doing it on Zoom. We are live streaming that way and recording the meeting through there. So we'll jump back into the agenda. You're ready? Okay.
Go ahead.
The next item then is 3.1, acknowledgement of Pinyon Elementary student, parent and staff of the month. And again, just to refresh everyone's memory, the elementary actually chooses multiple students per grade level, 1 student per class, which is why their students of the month list is very long. The Pinyon Elementary School staff of the month is Vanessa Begay. She's a grade 4 teacher. Our PES parent of the month is Jolia Sada. And then our students of the month, beginning with preschool, is Jasmine Tom. And then we have 2 students from kindergarten, Chanel Ben and Raya Bahi. In first grade, we have 3 students, Corbin Begay, Caden Jackson, and Jay Dylan Segay. And then we have 4 students in second grade, Celeste Begay, Chanel Sosi, Dimitri Gray, and Jameson Hatafi. We have 2 students from third grade, Rylan Piscoli and Eli Key. We have 4 students from fourth grade, Dakota Bahi, Liam Cruz, and Daryl Daisy, and Bailey Begay. And then in fifth grade, we have Kayla Ben, Ty Claw, Bradley Hani, and Kayla Clay. And then we also have Mariah Benali was nominated by 3 different PES staff members. Linnea Johnson and Mariah Benali. And then from our specials teachers, we had Damian Kay and Jeremy Kaidito. So congratulations to all of our students and parents of the month from Pinyon Elementary School.
Congratulations.
Good job. Keep up the good work.
So next, we are 3.2 under acknowledgements and recognitions. This is our Pinion Accelerated Middle School Student Parent and Staff of the Month. These were submitted by Ms. Chi, the principal. So the background in how they put theirs together is the middle school staff make nominations through Google Forms. So they have a setup through their Google system. Then the staff meet via Zoom and discuss the nominations and choose the people to acknowledge based on our positive behavior intervention supports criteria, which is PBIS. So our students of the month for 6th grade is Alexander Chavez. For 7th grade, Alexia Begay. And 8th grade is Gabriel Frazier. And then our parents of the month are Kevin Nakai, Julian Bly for 7th grade, and Julian's a staff member here as well. And 8th grade, Stephen No. And then our staff of the month, there were 2, they tied, Rose Lala Lee and Stephanie Foster, who are 2 teachers. So all of the above individuals receive a certificate from the principal and Eagle incentives, which is part of the PBIS system. They're able to order like little incentives for positive behavior reinforcement. So they receive those incentives. So congratulations to our parent, student, staff of the month from the middle school. Let's see. And then-
Congratulations. Keep up the great work.
Okay, yes, and then 3.3 is our, huh? Yes, the PBIS incentives come out of federal funds. PBIS is a Title IV initiative. And then later on, the item 3.5, the Dinesh studies, the awards that they received are coming out of JOM funds. Yeah, PBIS is a state level initiative for positive behavior. So instead of punitive punishment, it's reinforcing the good behavior. So this 3.3 acknowledgement of Pinion High School Student Parent Staff of the Month was submitted by Mr. Nelson, the principal. The background, the student for the month of April is Fernando Nez, who's a 10th grader. He's a great student and submits his assignments in a timely manner, and he comes in every week with his grandfather. This is, I believe, one of those students who does the packet learning. So it's receiving the packets, completing everything, and then returning it back in. The parent of the month for April is Billy Nez, who's actually a grandparent of Fernando Nez. Mr. Nez goes above and beyond to help his grandson with his academics. He's here 3 to 4 times a week, meeting with his teachers and submitting assignments. So the student and the parent are together, which is great. And then our staff of the month for April is Amy Dudley, our English teacher at Pinion High School. She goes above and beyond her duties. She always helps staff and teachers with trainings, especially holding Google training. She's one of those who has completed all the Google certification training and is just very techie and experienced. So she's helping the other teachers at the high school with the Google classroom and the format that we've been doing. So congratulations again to our student, parent, and staff of the month there.
Congratulations.
And then 3.4 is acknowledgement of Pinion High School CTE Student of the Month. The CTE Student of the Month was nominated by our culinary arts instructor, Mrs. Nellie McCurtain. Ms. McCurtain says that she never knew Sinai until enrolled in Culinary Arts 1 this year. And Ms. McCurtain makes a really good point that it's difficult to really know the students this year because of the distance learning. They haven't actually been in the classroom. But this young lady challenged herself so much that she wanted to do more to get an above average grade. She would not settle for a lower grade. She worked hard, took on the challenge, and did a great job completing the work and earning a good grade. Shania's parents supported her, and they did whatever it took to help and assist her at Pinion High School, and Ms. McCurtain is very proud of her. So congratulations to our CTE Student of the Month. And then we have, let me see if I can open this. We have our, oops, that's the wrong one. Here we go. We have our Dinesh Studies program student parent or students of the month, I'm sorry. This is based on the Dinesh Studies benchmarks for third quarter. So for our middle school students, we have the two column, we have a Navajo culture class and we have a Navajo language class. So both of those teachers nominated students. So for Navajo culture in grade 6, we have Tori James and Nedra Nelwood. In 7th grade, we have Natalia Nelwood and Lucas James. And in 8th grade, we have Lisa Sosi and Junior Lee. And then for the Navajo language class, we have Nedra Nelwood, Mariah Cartagena, Logan Bezahalani, Clancy Deal from 7th grade, and then from 8th grade, Gabriel Frazier and Xavier Manygoats. And this here, the STEAM kits, this is what JOM purchased. They're backpacks that are really cool. They have all kinds of STEAM, which is science, technology, engineering, arts, and math. So there are different activities that age-appropriate activities that are in those backpacks that were given to the students as the award. And then our PES students, we have the Denebizad. There were no nominations for Denebizad, but from the Navajo culture side, we have from kindergarten, Martin Sosi and Alan Denny. From 1st grade, Linnea Johnson and Corbin Begay. In 2nd grade, Nevia McCabe and Jameson Hatafli. 3rd grade, Siriana Manygoats and Ryan Begay. In 4th grade, Jeremy, I believe this should be Kayadito and Liam Cruz, or Kayaditai. I can't get the last one. And then in 5th grade, Rwanda Begay and Jake Kiani. And they also received those STEM kits because those kits were for all, they have different ones for all the different grade levels. I actually want a STEM kit. They look like a lot of fun. And then for our high school, we have Navajo 1 from instructed by Dr. Manson, and a Navajo 1 classes by Mrs. Denny. And then we have Navajo 2 classes. Mrs. Denny is the instructor. We have Navajo History and Government with Mrs. Denny. And we have Foundations of Navajo Culture with Mrs. Denny. And she is also our Foundations of Navajo Culture is our dual enrollment class with Dene College. So the kids that are in that class are also receiving college credit for their class. We have for Navajo 1 in Dr. Manson's class, we have Mariah May John and Ellery Grace John. For Navajo 1 for Mrs. Denny, we have Portia Chi and Kaylee Denny. And then Navajo 2, Khabib Yellowhair and Ian Mead. Navajo History and Government with Mrs. Denny, we have Jaden Segay and Byron Denny. And then for Foundations of Navajo Culture, we have Taylor Fowler and Tiana Chi, and they also received STEAM kits for their awards there. So congratulations to all of those students in our Dene Studies class. They don't do students of the month, they do quarterly benchmarks. So there'll be another report from them at the end of fourth quarter with their students from Dene Studies. Let's see. Okay, so then that's the end of acknowledgements and recognition. So then the next item on the agenda would be the consent agenda.
Okay, congratulations to all those.
Students and parents and staff that are recognized. So now we go to the consent agenda. Superintendent.
Again, just a reminder to the board, everything on the consent agenda, it's just one consent motion to approve the consent agenda, which is the approval of the board minutes for the month of March. The consolidated board report from July 1, which is the beginning of our fiscal year through April 1st. And then the approval of the payroll and purchasing vouchers since the last governing board meeting. And then the approval of the purchase of the buses from Auto Safety House.
Any motion for the consent agenda? Any questions?
Mr. Oscar, the consolidated board report from July 1st, 2020 to April 1st, 2020? Or
21st.
is it April 2020, 21?
Consolidated board report from April 1st, oh, it should be 2021.
July 1st, 20 to 21?
July 1st of 2020, which is the beginning of our fiscal year, and it's cumulative through April 1st of this month, which would be 2021. I'm sorry.
Okay. Any motion?
With that correction, I want to go ahead and motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second the motion.
Now what motion, Ms. Owen, second. All in favor? Or any questions?
Well, you can't do questions on the
Yeah,
consent
okay.
agenda, so.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yes.
Okay, 5 in favor, 0 opposing, 0 abstaining. For the new business, Chris? Superintendent?
Madam President, members of the board. New business number 1, we had some discussion during the adoption of the agenda at the beginning, was discussion of possible action to approve the Pinion High School student and parent handbook for school year 2021-2022, which is the upcoming school year. At that time, we discussed basically that it's just a very long document and it was difficult for the board to get through the whole thing, and there were some questions. So the recommendation, I guess my recommendation would be to table that item for now, and then we can bring that back to a special meeting or a work session. And also note that the elementary and middle school also have handbooks. There's every year we also do a parent handbook that comes out of federal programs, and some other handbooks as well. So we could just do them all at once on like a work session or special meeting. So that would be my recommendation if the board is comfortable with that, to table 5.1.
Any motion?
I want to go ahead and motion to table the Pinion High School student and parent handbook for school year 2021-22.
I'll
And,
second the
work
motion. Have a work study session as soon as possible. Don't wait until way down in May or somewhere like that, because they need these for student enrollment.
We'll schedule for April.
Somewhere in April, yeah, before April. is
After
over.
the 17th.
And we'll
Okay,
also, just to let the board know, I'm sure as basically April, May, June, July, there may be some requests for some special board meetings, just brief special board meetings, just for personnel items like new hiring, and as we get those things. Because we don't want to leave people hanging for an entire month between, like, when we recommend them for hire, but then they've got to wait for the board meeting. So there may be some requests for some special meetings kind of through these next few months for personnel issues as well, so.
Okay, there's a motion and second on the table. All in favor?
I,
Roll call vote.
Yes,
George Piazzi,
yes.
Ramona Nava,
yes.
Mark Little,
Yes.
Bessie Allen,
Yes,
Brenda Vitale.
Yes.
Five in favor, zero opposed.
Okay, next item.
Madam President, members of the board, 5.2 is also a handbook. It's the high school college and career course catalog. So it's all the courses listed for Pinyon High School, everything that's available to students. It is the same as it was last year. The only difference is a change in date. This one could be tabled as well, or there were no changes, so it could be approved. It's really the pleasure of the board.
I would recommend tabling it too, include it with the other handbooks.
I went through the whole thing and it's really good. Change a lot of good words in there. And so it's up to you if you want to table. No, I think that one's pretty well.
I read it.
So we'll just go ahead and motion to approve.
Go ahead, motion.
And give a
Bessie
compliment
motion
to
and-
Mr. Nelson. He did a good job.
And
Yes.
second by
Who motion?
Bessie did.
Bessie motion.
Okay, then I'll second that motion.
Okay.
Roll call vote, George Piazzi,
Yes, I have a question. Hold on. On this course outline, I wanted to see if there was any advanced courses in there in that plan. Or something about, you said college, are there plans in there where our high school students can, at the junior or senior level, that they can earn credits through the next college or whatever? And
Yes.
It's
like
yeah,
English.
all in there.
Yeah, we do have.
It's all in there, because I didn't read it.
We do have, so through Dene College, we have the Foundations of Navajo culture class that I mentioned before. We also have English, math, science, and social studies classes available for seniors to take. So they enroll, our teachers teach it, but they get high school credit for graduation and they get Dene College credit.
Mhm.
And now this year, we are working, our CTE department, Mrs. McLaughlin and Mr. Nelson are working with NTU, Navajo Technical University, to get the dual credit for, I believe it's culinary arts, because Mrs. McCurtain is qualified to teach that at the college level. So students who participate in the culinary arts program could get college credit as well. So we're working very hard with our partners at Dene College and NTU to get as many of our staff approved through them to teach these dual credit classes as possible. And we're lucky this year and next year, that we have several of our staff members that have the degree, the master's degree or the level necessary to do the college level classes. That was always one of our holdups before, is we just didn't have teachers at the high school who could qualify to teach those, but we do now. So we're pushing as many courses as we can through Dene College and through NTU for those dual credit classes.
Okay, that's good, because there was some of the question that the parents were asking me about, was to how to improve the quality of education for our students, so they are able to pursue higher education. Shouldn't they? It's being done, so that's good. So
In theory, I think if a student I'd have to go back and check exactly, but I think like a high school senior, if they were in all 5 of those classes, I mean, they would graduate from high school with 5 college credits on their transcript.
Mhm.
So, and possibly 6 if we get the culinary going and they're also in the culinary. So that's a huge jump on their freshman year of college to have all those credits when they leave high school.
Mr. Oscard,
Oh,
I know that CTE courses, I hope they are, if we can get the students certified, like in culinary arts, they're able to get a job like welding and things like that. Are we
true,
able
that
to
is-
do that?
okay, that's a separate issue, but yes, we do. All of our CTE programs have the certification exams. So if a student completes all of the levels of the course and they complete their industry credential requirements, they can actually graduate with this. And it's not college credit, but they can graduate with a certificate in that CTE program. Like construction or welding or, you know, those program business, those classes that we offer, they can graduate with that certificate.
All right, well, those are some of the questions that I was being asked. I don't know. The parents don't know their schools or what.
I
So,
think, what will happen is these can be printed, and those that are inquiring about it, give them the whole thing.
And we do, we send them out to all the parents as soon as the board approves it. We'll clean it up with the new dates. And then we usually send them out to a printer just to have them all printed because of the amount of paper and copy. And then we post them online, but then we also send them out.
Yeah. They weren't distinct like it is done now. It's more, that's wordy. Before that, it was too wordy, so you really don't get what you were looking for. But now he has charts and easier to see what is there, and he even compare some of the credits where it can be accepted and stuff. I thought that was good. I thought he really did a good job. If Mr. Nelson is on there, thank you for doing a good job.
Okay, so
is that
there's a
Mr.
motion.
Nelson right there?
That's John.
I don't
Oh, that's
know.
that's.
Well, we have some
sweet
people on
image
Zoom
on
that-
it.
There's a motion. Any other questions I can answer for you?
Yeah, there's a motion. A motion, a second on the floor. All in favor?
Dorothy Yasi,
Yes.
Connor Nelwyn,
Yes.
Mark Little,
Yes.
Bessie Allen,
Yes,
Miranda Bitshu.
Yes.
5 in favor, 0 opposed.
Just give me a copy when it's done.
Now that the board's approved it, we'll do the printing and then we can send them out to all of you. So the next item then is 5.3, discussion and possible action to approve job descriptions for the certified PES Dene Immersion and certified Dene Studies Enrichment teachers. So what we've been doing with Dr. Sells and with Mrs. Edgewater, who's our Dene Studies coordinator, is we're working to really reestablish the program at Pinion Elementary School. One of the things that we are doing beginning next year is we're finally able to kick off the immersion program with our kindergarten class. So we'll actually have a Dene immersion class at the kindergarten level. Our original goal was to do it this year, but then of course with the pandemic and everything, we weren't able to do that. So we're planning to start that next year. And my suggestion on that was that we actually develop a job description for it because it is different than just the regular elementary job description. And then we also wanted to review the other Dene Studies teachers that we currently have as part of the exploratory program and change up those job descriptions as well. Not to put you on the spot, but Valencia, I see that you are on the Zoom meeting. Did you want to speak to this or do you want me to do it or?
Either or is fine.
So basically, I'll start and then you can jump in if I forget something. How's that? So our today's studies and literacy teacher, this is the exploratory class. So this is what we have now. We're just revising the job description. Previously, all that was required was the Native American language certificate, which basically means someone could get certified through ADE because they're fluent in the language, but they've never been through an education program. So they weren't able to do, some of the lesson planning and the other pieces of what teachers needed to do. So the recommendation is to actually require an elementary or secondary teaching certificate in addition to the Native American language certificate. The rest of that basically stays the same as far as the fingerprint clearance card, the background checks. And then we also note here that for the high school Diné studies teachers, we are requiring that they have master's degrees because that's what allows them to teach for Diné College, as the master's degree aspect of it.
Oh, yeah.
So the job goal is to provide Diné literacy and culture instruction to pre-K through 12th grade students, so students can become proficient in the Diné language and culture. So this is the job description that is for all 3 schools for the teachers in those programs. And then the job duties and responsibilities include curriculum, curriculum work, curriculum development, participating in professional development, and you can see the list there for that. So that's the one job description, and then the other job description is the Diné Immersion Teacher. Right now we have that listed for K-5 because we're starting in kindergarten and working our way up through the grade levels, and then eventually we'll move out of the elementary and into the upper grades as well. But right now we're just focusing on K-5. And really this job description mirrors the regular core content classroom teacher, except we've embedded those Diné studies aspects. Because in an immersion class, just so everybody understands the difference, in an immersion class, these kindergarten students are getting the Arizona content standards for English language arts, math, science, social studies, all the different contents. So the teacher has to be highly qualified, but all of the instruction is happening in the Diné language. So that's the immersion program aspect. So the teacher needs to be fully certified as a regular elementary teacher to be highly qualified to deliver the content standards, but then of course they also have to have the strong background to be able to, and because this is full literacy, it's, reading, writing, speaking, listening of the Diné language plus the other content pieces. So there's really two different programs that we have going now. We have the full immersion class that's going to start at kindergarten and build each year. And then we have the Diné studies, which we've had going in pre-K through 12th grade already. We're just sort of increasing the overall requirements for that teaching position.
Okay, there's a job description motion.
Valencia, did I forget anything? Is there anything you wanted to add?
No, just like you said, to reiterate that Native American Language Certificate Ninigi in the Department of the Education Audit Ado in the Ado La Hotato Nita Sadik Niligi Ado na the Kidigi Nal Sosgi Wake Ado the Quaki Ado La Kajine de Yoshka Sada Bahad Neta without the Bacao Ado Kaki not Ado La Bahajina Ad neck at you. A code the neck at you, you just heat do, Judith at do. Ado Belganic at you, Ado La Sadiki, just cut beho just seno, don't other. Ado into the they Andleda staff dan Linigi, Edigi, Sad Bakatni Niligi, Edigi on Ebic Echo Nalsosigi ha Nadwo. A code General Neck at Yan Hita, Bakao, a code Dick at Nlay Ida Goldie Sos, Arizona Department of Education, the Native American Language Certificate. Ebenia hat nilda a kut ego ebakatla a ko baultra a kut iho ado iltrao jodi ado la jo de nebazad nan kinigi ultra bigiti ilsa hota a koko do a khayda do hojo ado la ya iltrao ed abanant ado lis a ani shi nek a shi yasti do idits ande jo chin nan kinigi a kwagi la hona nat Jo you see, put ego ebe sil zidigi, do ba kunit zigi, jo kut ego dea, sadgi bakandish ash ado here.
Madam President, I'd like to make a motion to approve the job description for the immersion teacher, K5, as well as the Diné studies and literacy teacher.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Any questions, comments?
Madam President, I have some questions.
Mhm.
On the Diné studies and literacy teacher, up at the top, for the elementary, there's no degree requirement indicated versus down at the bottom for the high school, it says it's requiring a master's. So I know in order for a teacher to obtain a certificate, it does require a bachelor's at minimum. So that's my question is, what are we requiring for the elementary? Requiring a master's? Or are we going with the minimum of at least a bachelor's degree?
For elementary and middle school level, it would be an elementary or secondary teaching certificate, which you're correct, that would be, I mean, a bachelor's degree would get you the teaching certificate. The only reason we're requiring the master's degree at the high school is because at the high school, there's the dual credit.
Mhm.
At elementary and middle school, there's no options for dual credit. So we,
Yeah,
and you know, you're right, we don't mention bachelor's degree, it's sort of implied in the teaching certificate, but if you'd like, we could add just a statement that says bachelor's degree is required as a
Minimum, yeah.
minimum for pre-K.
Or
8.
elementary, yeah. And then, since this is a literacy position, as indicated up at the top, literacy is English. So I would recommend, and I don't see it on here, that I know for, especially for secondary, since it's gonna be the dual credit, that this individual must have a English endorsement. Because in order for secondary, which is your 7, 8 into high school, for subject matter, they have to have that endorsement.
Mr. Oscar, can I interject?
Yes.
So Diné studies and literacy teacher Kliniki jo at neck at using Navajo orthography Edigi ahilne.
I understand that, but we're also giving them the dual credit. So this person must have to be specialized in the English, or not specifically English language, but has to have some type of competency of, you know, delivering the competence of
what it says
the
native
language,
language,
the English language.
native language.
This,
It does say native language.
so really that should say Diné studies and Diné literacy teacher, because they're not getting the dual credit comes from the university, but they're not getting like English credit for this. They still have to have English 1, 2, 3, 4 at the high school or. So I understand what you're saying.
If you're talking to someone in Navajo, you have to have the proper way of explaining it, just like English. You know, there's that English, the proper way of pronunciating, the sentence structure. That type of thing is also the same way with the Navajo language. So I think that we also need to indicate in there that the person has to have the English endorsement. And then also your ESL. Let's see. Okay, right there it says Navajo bilingual or ESL endorsement. I think in order for, as I can recall, in order for someone to be able to teach the Navajo culture or language, they have to pass the test through Department of Education, and then that's given to ADE, and that's put on their certificate.
That's this right here.
So yeah, that's the, yeah, okay, that's there. And then the ESL, the SCI is a standard endorsement now, so I don't think that needs to be in there. You have or SCI, but that's a standard endorsement now. ESL is not a standard endorsement. That's something that they have to take. So SCI is a standard endorsement.
Does the college accept them as they're the one that determines if they are proficient to teach at the college level? So they would, I would say that if the college, wherever they're teaching under, says that they are okay to be teaching to ensure that it's meeting that standard, then we're okay. But if we say English endorsement, then we're putting a lot of burden on getting a teacher in that area. So to me, the way it's written is sufficient.
Well, if we're saying we're gonna require an ESL, which is an English as second language endorsement, that goes back to having that English endorsement to have it. And then if we're also saying structured English immersion program, or the structured English immersion, that goes back to what I'm trying to say.
Well, I understand what this was just copied off of ADE's website as a requirement for an elementary or secondary teaching certificate. And it's just, I actually have an ESL endorsement and an SCI endorsement. Basically, to get an elementary or secondary teaching certificate, you had to have one of these three. So it wouldn't necessarily have to be listed here because it is included in the elementary and secondary teaching certificate. I mean, to be able to have that certificate, you would have to have that to get the certificate in the first place. So I see what you mean. It doesn't have to be broken out and listed separately.
Mhm.
So is it just mainly ESL?
We had a
And
motion.
The letter B is kind of, I don't see it necessary to be there because you have to have a passing score in order to get the certificate of the AEPA. You have
So
to have a
under
passing
endorsement, you
score.
just want a period there? Leave out the structured English immersion?
I would say to leave out the SCI because that's a standard endorsement.
Well, basically what you could do, again, this was just copied like verbatim off the application, but Mark is, Mr. Board Member Little is correct that B and C, basically you can't get A if you don't have B and C.
Correct.
So it's kind of redundant that they're listed there. So B and C could be taken off of the job description because you can't actually get an elementary or secondary teaching certificate unless you have done B and C.
Correct.
So we can easily just strike that when we
Well,
publish the job description.
I had
See, and
SEI endorsement on my certificate too, so
Yeah.
You had to be, I mean, if I were told you gotta have no bilingual or ESL, then I couldn't have done it, but it was ESI, I was able to do it because it was required for you to teach a Native American anyway.
Yeah, well, at the time, SEI wasn't a standard endorsement. Now, it's a standard endorsement.
It is,
And then also back to what I was trying to say about the English endorsement. On number 4 here, we're saying you must be proficient in the English, or excuse me, reading, writing, and speak. Well, right there, just reading and writing. So to do that, I think you still have to have your English endorsement. That goes back to what I was trying to say, the pronunciation, the sentence structure. Although, yeah, it's in the Navajo language, Navajo and English are totally 2 different things, but it's the way you write it out, you speak it. So that would be my recommendation, is to put that in there. And then to the immersion teacher. Okay, that answers my question on my question was, why are we requiring a master's on the literacy versus the immersion? Okay, it's because of the dual credit. So that answers my question. The next one is, okay, we're requiring the Native American language certificate for the literacy teacher. Why are we not requiring it for the immersion teacher? Because they're going to be doing the same thing.
Today, immersion teacher right here, Native American language certificate. It's the same. It's on both of them.
I think this is a standard one for across all public school, is that this immersion teacher job description. It's kind of a standard one, isn't that? I mean, if we're trying to make up a different one for our own, we will be different. Because the public school has the same thing as a job description for the immersion teacher.
The Dene, this one, the Dene immersion teacher K5 is basically our elementary, our general education, regular elementary job description with the immersion Dene elements embedded into it. So that it does meet all the requirements to be a highly qualified elementary teacher to teach the Arizona standards, but they're doing it in the Dene language, which is why here we have the Native American language and culture certificate as a requirement. So,
and again, all this stuff here, like, okay, under number 1, there's no A, it's just a period. You start period A, B, I think it should be A, B, C, get rid of that period. But anyhow, all of that's redundant again. You have to have all of this, even to be a highly qualified teacher, you have to have all of this to get your certificate. So all of this wording here is just, I think it's too wordy.
yeah, what I've highlighted, this could be, again, it is, to get elementary or secondary, you would have to have this, so that could be removed.
Then like their letter C, under the federally highly qualified, pass the AEPA, that you have to pass the AEPA.
While that's true that because these are federal requirements, we still leave them listed on the job descriptions, just because if we're paying a teacher out of federal funds, then we need to be able to document that they have these things.
Oh, and then I don't see in here that they have to have their early childhood endorsement, because if we're gonna start off with kindergarten, in order to be a kindergarten teacher, you have to have your early childhood endorsement.
Well, we listed in
A,
It's listed here, the early childhood.
Yeah.
That's part of the, but we can list it up here, the elementary with, let's see, yes, the immersion teachers, so elementary, and then we can list early childhood on there as well.
early childhood endorsement required because okay, any other question, comments? We are, the head motion,
I did.
you did, and then, okay, seconded, so are you saying, change those before we approve them, or? You made the motion, Mr. Little?
I just assume, yeah, that they'll be changed. I trust that they'll be changed.
I think that's a standard language that they're all using across the public school. Gee, what I want this kiss.
Are we ready to vote?
Okay, let's all vote in favor, and as it was read to us.
Roll call vote, Dorothy Johnson,
Yes.
Ramona Nelson,
Yes.
Mark Little,
Yes,
Bessie Allen,
Yes.
Miranda Tui,
Yes.
five in favor, 0 opposed, motion.
Thank you. Let's go to the next item.
Next item, 5.4 is, again, job descriptions for a different program. Discussion of possible action to approve the revised job descriptions for, job description for certified CTE teacher. This one, there's, one of the copies is basically the sort of the cleaned up version. The other one is the marked up version with the changes. Basically, this needed to be redone to meet state and federal requirements for CTE. The programs have changed over the last few years, so we needed to revise the job description to meet those new state and federal requirements. So we're in compliance with the state priority grants and the federal Carl Perkins grant. Because a lot of our CTE programs are funded by Native, which is the CTED consortium, and then by the priority grant from the state of Arizona and the Carl Perkins grant from federal.
My only question is, you have Navajo Nation background check, but you don't have that on the others. Is this the only one that we do on this?
That's on all. Oh. That was,
Yeah.
I mean.
We don't have every single
On public
employee.
safety. This one has Navajo
I mean.
Nation background. So
Every single
we have to
employee
base-
every single employee that we have, every job description needs to have, every employee that we have has to have their white fingerprint clearance card from the Department of Ed, and then they also go through the Navajo Nation background check. So that's.
But the other one doesn't say it on there.
We'll put it on.
Okay.
Yeah, because I never got when I was a teacher, I never got my Navajo Nation stuff. So I only got the white card, and I figured that was sufficient.
A motion for approval.
Oh,
Then we can
motion
have all the questions.
by Ms. Ellen, second.
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Little. Any other questions, comments? Okay, vote, let's all vote. Roll.
Dorothy Johnson,
Yes.
Ramona Nelson,
Yes.
Mark Little,
Yes,
Bessie Allen,
Yes.
Miranda Tui,
Yes.
five, in favor, 0 opposed.
Thank you. Go to the next one. Personnel.
No, 5.5.
5.5.
We still have two left.
Oh, it's,
5.5.
yeah, I'm.
5.5 is a discussion of possible action to approve 3 health aides, 2 bus drivers, and 2 bus monitors for our exceptional student services, which is special education extended school year program from May 17th to June 17th. So these are the students whose IEPs. The IEP team has determined that they need this extended school year. And Dale O'Donnell, who's the ESS director, had her, like the teachers and the overall plan on the prior board meeting that the board approved. So once that was approved, then she was actually contacting all the parents and figuring out how many kids are going to be there. So now she knows how many support staff she needs. So she's asking for these 3 health aides, 2 bus drivers, and 2 bus monitors for the extended school year program.
These are all in person?
Yes.
Brought in,
The extended school year would be
okay,
in person, but again, it's the parents' choice. So if the parent says, no, I don't want to send them in person, we would work with the parents to do, some other option, but we're planning for in-person learning for these kids because so many of their services are very difficult to do remotely. I mean, some of what the kids need, you just really need to be there with the students to do it.
So we are hiring people? That it?
Yeah, you're approving the positions for the health aides, bus monitors.
That's the position?
the staff are already here, obviously. How many
Oh,
days?
AD.
Yeah, all of these are existing staff members that would be,
Oh, okay. That's what I was wondering. Is there any motion on the table? Okay, motion by Ms. Norwood, second.
Already, oh, okay, it's the other one.
Second,
sorry.
Mr. Little, okay, any question? Vote, roll call vote,
Dorothea.
yes.
Ramona Nelwood.
Yes.
Mark Little.
Yes.
Bessie Allen.
Yes.
Miranda Mitsui.
Yes.
5 in favor, 0 opposed, 0 abstentions.
Okay, next, 5.6, thank you.
5.6 is discussion of possible action to approve the disposal of district property. And there's a few different pages of listings there that you can review. One of them is the Sure Easy Flex microphones. Those are actually the old microphones that used to be here. All that was all that stuff that was stacked over there before. It's the next page is also some of the equipment that used to be here. And then we have some of the older iMac computers. Those are those bigger all-in-one kind of computers. They're not laptops. They're actually the desktop flat panel kind of computers. And then more of the stuff that was here in the order. And those are listed actually for sale. So when it's appropriate and safe, according to Navajo Nation opening guidelines, then those items would actually be sold. Then the last page is from, from transportation, and that's actually disposal of 2 old buses. And those were actually, because of their condition, we're just taking them for scrap and disposing of them that way and getting the money back from the scrap metal that the buses contain.
Okay, motion?
Motion to approve the disposal of district property as listed for April 2021.
Okay, any second? Here, a second.
I'll second.
Ms. Norwood, second. Any other questions or comment?
So a lot of these items will be sold, but they usually do every year.
Well, obviously, we have to wait until it's, appropriate under COVID conditions and Navajo Nation reopening to actually have the sale, but we're just asking the board to approve the sale. So when we're ready, then we can actually have have
The day these things are sold, you should see people in line. God. I didn't know what was going on one time. It just all over.
You probably thought it was a parent involvement, huh?
What's going on?
Okay, vote. No question, vote, roll call,
Dorothy Ozzie,
yes.
Ramona Nelson.
Yes.
Mark Little,
Yes.
Bessie Allen,
Yes.
Meredith Mitsui. Yes. 5 in favor, 0 opposed, 0 abstentions.
Okay, thank you. Go on to the next item, Chris.
The next item is, again, 6, which, or next section is executive session, and that would be if the board felt they wanted to go into executive session to discuss the remainder of the personnel items. So I'll just run through them quickly so you have a better understanding of what they are. 7.1 and 7.2 are contract adjustments based on let's see. Michael Jones and Robert Boyd are our 2 JROTC instructors, and we have an agreement with basically the Army. They set the salary. So these are 7.1 and 7.2 are contract amount adjustments based on the Army and the agreement that we have with them. 7.3 is to hire a bus driver trainee, Wesley Cook. 7.4 is to hire a new Pinion Accelerated Middle School Library Technician. That position has been vacant, and that's Tatiana Bly. 7.5 is discussion and possible action to approve the hire of substitute teachers, and this is for next school year, and these are existing substitute teachers listed there. And then 7.6 is discussion and possible action to approve the hire of an elementary teacher for next year to fill one of our vacant positions. 7.7 is discussion to hire an art teacher for next year, Mr. Nicholas Begay. And then it kind of looks like he's on here, well, he is on here twice. It almost looked like a duplicate item, but this is to hire Mr. Nicholas Begay right now to fill out the rest of this school year. So 7.7 is to hire and issue a contract for next year, and 7.8, he has a substitute certificate. He's working on his actual certification. That's why it's a substitute. But we would like, because that position's been vacant all year, we'd like him to start as soon as possible. 7.9 is discussion and possible action to offer employee contracts to the following emergency certified teachers. Starla McCurtain, Roxanne Rodriguez, Lucinda John, Crystal Vino, and Charmaine Mike. They are existing employees, existing teachers, but they were not renewed with the others because as an emergency teacher, they don't have continuing rights, and we have to actually advertise the positions and see if we can find someone who isn't an emergency certificate first, before we can actually issue them a contract. And all of these people are actually doing a very good job, and they're in programs to become certified teachers. So eventually the emergency will drop off of those individuals. 7.10 is the hire of a waste management technician. This is the person who would drive the trash truck. Mr. Harvey Deal, he's an existing employee who would be transferring out of transportation, but he has the necessary CDL requirements to drive the trash truck. 7.11 is discussion and possible action to rescind contract offers. So these individuals are existing employees. They were issued their contract for next year, and they either declined the contract or just didn't turn the contract in. So they can sign a contract for next year. So the board is just rescinding that offer, and then we'll vacate the positions and post them. 7.12 is the resignation of the following employees. Carly Holiday is at the end of the contract, so she's filling out the year. Verna Clinton is at the end of the contract, so she's filling out the year. Sherry Peshlikai is actually effective March 31st. And when we get to that item, I would ask the board to include in their motion that she would be eligible to be rehired. This is a childcare issue. Navajo Nation daycare is closed. And then Kimberly Danette Deal resigned also at the end of her contract. Edgar Gaddy, who's a security officer, resigned effective April 2nd. And then we've already done 13 and 14. So that was just a quick rundown of personnel. If there's anything there that you want to go into executive session for, we could do that now, or we could just go through the personnel items.
Okay, board members, see anything for going into executive session?
Under personnel, I'd like to make a motion, since these are usually routine teachers that are under Army minimum wage. And the other part is under the school. That would be 7.1 regarding Michael Jones, high school ROTC teacher for the school year 2021. Is this kind of a back pay?
It's
Like
an
101
adjustment to the
adjustment.
current contract based on what the ROTC has sent
Adjustment.
us. So it's
Why
an
does it
adjustment.
have 20, it should have year 2021 and 22?
No.
No, 7.1 is for the current year we're in,
Current year.
2020, 2021. That's an adjustment for this year because of ROTC has sent us new information.
Okay.
And 7.2 is for next year.
And which would make. Okay, so that's the 101,176 cents. To match Mr. Jones US approved Army minimum instructor pay effective January 1, 2021. Okay, then this to go ahead and approve the discussion and possible action to approve to amend JROTC teacher salary school year 21-22 employee contract amount to match the US approved minimum instructor pay for school year 2021 and 22. So that would come out with Michael Jones at $6,738.12. And then Robert Boyd, senior JROTC teacher, $85,242.28.
Okay, do I have a second on those two motions, 7.1 and 7.2? Any second?
I'll second the motion.
Okay, second by Ms. Norwood. Any question, comments?
So the minimum instructor salary or wage is 60,000 for Michael Jones.
Yes, JROTC through our agreement with them sets the minimum instructor pay based on, and then they match, it's sort of a match. We pay half, they pay half, so.
Yeah,
So we would pay 30 and they would pay 30?
oh,
Yeah, it's
think it's a-
for those two instructors, it's in our contract with them to match the instructor pay, and then it's the cost share of the.
military and school district. Sherry.
Why is the next one at 85,000?
He's the senior.
There's different ranks,
Mhm.
just like in the military, there are different ranks, so they, again, set those amounts. It's ROTC that sets those amounts.
And how many years of service has these individuals been with the district?
Um, 3, I believe.
Both three? So why wasn't this caught last year or the year before?
Because, well, ROTC doesn't necessarily follow our timeline, so they just send us updates, and that's when we have to make those adjustments. So we didn't know this going into the contracts when we issued them at the last board meeting. These are adjustments that we
Mhm.
needed to make based on what they sent us.
Yeah,
So when were these adjustments made from ROTC?
Well, we can't make the adjustments on the contract until the board approves it, so
I know, okay, well, let me clarify from the statement. When did the salary adjustments change on ROTC side, and when did we become familiarized with it?
so
March 3rd
January
is when we
1st.
received the. And this is, board member Allen is correct, this is routine, we've had to do this several times because we've set the salary based on what we think, and then they send us something that says, no, the salary should be this, and then we have to do a contract correction for them.
How many kids do we have in our ROTC program?
I don't know, I'd have to find out from the high school.
There are 85. There's
Hmm?
almost 85.
85, so that's
Pretty good.
about a
Almost.
third of the high school enrollment.
Good discipline. Effort, I think.
Oh, the staff number is
80, okay.
Yeah, I had my son get me up to speed on this. And he's a sergeant, he's a sergeant major. Okay, you know what, other question, let's vote. Roll call vote,
Dorothy Ozzie,
yes.
Ramona Nelwood,
Yes.
Mark Little,
No,
Bessie Allen,
Yes,
Miranda Katsui. No. No, okay. 3 in favor, 2 opposed, 0 abstentions.
I think these are based on the military, we seem like we have no control over it, so it's kind of dictated by the military on the ROT instructor, so.
It's all part of the agreement and contract that we have with the.
point of order, we've already discussed this item and voted on it. Let's move forward. please, on
Okay,
future agenda.
next item.
Next
7,
item, 7.3 is discussion and possible action to approve the hire of a bus driver trainee. Wesley Cook, grade 1, step 1, $13 an hour.
do I have a motion? Motion on this item?
Madam President, I'd like to motion 7.3 to hire Wesley Cook at grade 1, step 1, 13 an hour, to be the bus trainee. And then 7.4, to hire, I don't know how to say that name,
Tatiana.
Tanya Bly, to be the PAMS library technician at $13 an hour, high school plus 60 credit hours. Step 1.
Okay. Okay, do we have a second on the two items? 7.3 to hire Wesley Cook and 7.4 to hire Tatiana Bly. Gotta got that, that's her name.
I'll second that.
Okay, second by Ms. Norwood. Any questions or comments? Board members? If there's none, vote, roll call,
Dorothy Ossie,
yes.
Ramona Nelwood,
Yes.
Mark Little,
Yes.
Bessie Allen,
Yes,
Miranda Tsui,
Yes.
5 in favor, 0 opposed, 0 abstentions.
Okay, thank you. Go to the next item, 7.5, motion, any motion?
I would motion to approve. And I have a question after a second.
Okay, we have a motion on 7.5 to approve the substitute teachers for the school year 2021-22.
I'll go ahead and second that.
Okay, we have a second by Ms. Bitsui. Any
My
questions?
question,
Question?
we have emergency certified. Here's certified substitutes. And then you have a regular, I guess, substitute. So emergency certified is like a
Emergency-
regular teacher? Is
No.
that the way I understand now?
If a
Certified
substitute,
substitute.
no, if a certified, if a substitute teacher has a standard certification, that means they have a bachelor's degree. If it's emergency certified, that means they do not have a bachelor's degree. They have at least a high school diploma, they may have some college credits, but they don't have a bachelor's degree. So in Arizona certification, there are actually two separate certifications. And an emergency substitute certification is only good for 1 year, and they have to renew it every year. And I actually, once they're approved, I actually have to fill out a form and sign it for their emergency certificate. A standard substitute certificate means they have a bachelor's degree, and that's good. It used to be,
I think it's 4 years.
it was 4 or 6 years, I can't remember, but it's long, it's good for a longer term, and they have fewer restrictions on how long they can serve and all of that. So that's the difference.
It's not limited to 3 years like it had anymore?
That's an emergency
The
certified
certified-
teacher, that's different. An emergency certified teacher means we're issuing them a contract and they're full-time. In this case, it's substitute teachers, so they just come in as we need them.
When needed.
So is that the one that it's not limited to 3 years?
That's a certified, emergency certified teacher. So this is for substitute teachers.
Just-
Mhm.
Yeah.
Right,
So
an emergency.
let's say if I wanted to be a teacher, second grade teacher, I have my bachelor's degree, but I haven't passed the test, I can get an emergency certificate for next year. And I can get it up to 3 years.
Okay,
This one.
that's
is
what
for
I was trying to
substitute.
understand. I thought
Yeah.
it was different, okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Do any of these, individuals have a parapro?
The emergencies, yeah, that was one of our requirements for, if they have a bachelor's degree, they don't need it, but
Yeah,
for the
I'm-
emergency.
I'm sorry, the emergency, that's what I'm talking about. Do they have their parapro? Did they take the parapro?
That was one of our requirements for emergency certified. It's not an ADD requirement, but it's one of our requirements, yeah.
Okay, we had a motion and a second, roll call vote,
Dorothy Ossie,
yes.
Ramona Nelwood,
Yes.
Mark Little,
Yes.
Bessie Allen,
Yes.
Miranda Mitsui,
Yes.
five in favor, zero opposed, zero abstentions.
Thank you. Next, 7.6.
7.6 is discussion and possible action to approve the hire of a Pinyon Elementary School teacher for the upcoming school year to fill one of our vacancies, Mr. Brian Clark, who's MA, step 11. He has, well, more than, that's the highest we place based on years of experience. He has more years of experience than that. This individual was interviewed and recommended by the elementary principal, Dr. Sells.
Have a motion?
Madam President, I'll make a motion to approve to hire Brian Clark.
Okay,
I'll second the motion.
okay, motion by Mr. Wolf, second by Ms. Allen. Any
I have
question?
a couple questions. First one is, I know I brought this up a few times, is I noticed this individual doesn't have a valid Arizona teaching certificate. He does have an out-of-state certificate, but I think if I can recall, after reviewing the document the first time I questioned it back a few months ago, our job description does say that they must have a valid Arizona Department of Education certificate. In this case, this person doesn't have a valid Arizona certificate, has an out-of-state. Did this individual do
applied for-
reciprocity?
Yes, he's submitted all the paperwork for reciprocity,
Okay,
which
Okay,
is usually a pretty easy thing between New Mexico and Arizona. Not so much with some other states, but New Mexico and Arizona, it is a pretty just automatic thing once the certificate is issued.
okay, roll call vote,
Dorothy Ossie,
yes.
Ramona Nelson.
Yes.
Mark Little,
yes,
Bessie Allen,
Yes.
Miranda Mitsui,
Yes.
five in favor, zero opposed, zero abstentions.
Thank you. 7.7.
A motion to approve.
Okay, motion by Ms. Smallwood. Second,
Go ahead and suck it.
second by Ms. Allen to hire Mr. Nicholas Begay for Pam's art teacher for school year 2021, 2022 at step 1, 45,000 BS. Okay, roll call vote,
Madam
Oh.
President, I have a question. Again, this individual doesn't have a valid teaching certificate.
He's finishing up all of his degree requirements right now, which is why in the next item, we want to hire him as a substitute. Because he has, while he finishes and gets that for next year. So he's in a program right now to complete his certificate.
So he's actually starting till July, yeah?
Well, this.
I mean, as far as the other one,
The other.
the substitute is
oh,
now, I guess.
Yeah, he has the substitute certificate now to start for that item, but the actual contract would be for next year, and he'll have his certificate by then. He's just finishing out the requirements right now.
okay, roll call vote,
Dorothy Ossie,
yes.
Ramona Nelson,
Yes.
Mark Little,
No,
Bessie Allen,
Yes.
Miranda Mitsui.
Yes.
Four in favor, one opposed, zero.
Okay, thank you. Go to 7.8.
7.8 is discussion of possible action to approve the hire of Mr. Nicholas Begay as a regular substitute certificate, as the regular substitute teacher for the remainder of this school year to start in the art class. And that position's been vacant all year. I mean, we've had another substitute in there, but I mean, we haven't had a certified teacher in the art class this year yet, so.
But he's not certified yet, right?
Right, he's working on his full
Okay.
Arizona certificate to complete it, but he does have the bachelor's degree to get the substitute certificate, which he already has.
Okay,
Motion,
go ahead and make a motion, I'm already asking. Okay, is there someone with that motion?
Takagita?
I'll-
Motion, just, if he's not certified at this point, it should not be 140.
No, that's the,
It's
no,
a
the
substitute.
140 is the rate for a standard substitute. A
Substitute,
standard
so-
substitute means they have the bachelor's degree.
I thought that was 100.
That's the emergency substitute.
I'll apply for substitute, no. Uh, Motion,
I'm on second Bessie's
We're
motion.
certified, then they're always supposed to be 100. We're certified, no, like.
No,
Certified
emergency-
substitute,
no, there were
then
two-
that's 140.
So why don't we vote
No.
yes on 7-7 then if he doesn't have, if he's not
That's exactly
certified?
what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's what I said.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
No, in 7.8, which is this one,
So it should have
It's
been.
a
switched
a regular
around.
substitute.
For next year, but they
But
want
we
to hire
still-
him
but we
now
Still approved it because
Before
he
he's
doesn't have
certified.
his certification.
for substitute.
So 7.8 should have been first, 7.7, then 7.7 should have been 7.8.
That should have been switched around. But, my question, or, Chris. We have a job description for a reason, and in the job description, there's requirements for a reason. And I believe in the requirements, it does say that in order to be a substitute, you have to have a valid certification. At this point, the individual doesn't have a certification. Why is he being represented or recommended to the board when he obviously doesn't meet the requirements? And that goes back to what Bessie's trying to say is, right now, yes, he does have a degree, and yes, he can get a standard certificate, standard substitute certificate. But the way it's presented to us now is he doesn't have a certificate. So it should have been at $100. And then once he obtains a certificate, then we present as an amendment to request the 140, because now he has the full, he meets the requirements now. And that goes back to the teaching position as to what Ms. Bitsu is saying. And that's what I was questioning. So I did say this to you one time, and I'm gonna say it to you again. Before these items come to the board, please make sure they meet all the requirements. That happened with the elementary principal, that happened with a few other positions that I questioned, and you are the superintendent, you're the last person who said yes or no what comes on the agenda.
So.
what's the
This one
substitute?
should be
So,
changed to 100.
so a regular
148.
substitute teacher, I'm sorry, excuse me, what's a regular substitute teacher pay here now? 140?
So on 7-7.
A regular substitute teacher is 140 a day, an emergency
Oh.
certified substitute teacher is 150.
Regular substitute is $100. We've been doing that for years. Now, emergency, the certified one is 140.
No, you're reversing
In
it.
reverse.
Now
the-
he doesn't
If
get
it's
it.
an emergency,
The one that has a bachelor degree and
that's this
Emergency.
one.
That's the regular certified.
Yeah,
Oh, this one has a bachelor degree.
Oh,
mm,
yeah, this person has a bachelor's degree, therefore he is eligible to get a standard substitute certificate. And he's also eligible to get a standard emergency teaching certificate. But it'll be about, well, he's got fine arts degree, so he's eligible to get the emergency certificate for the top one. And back to what Miranda was saying, it should have been switched around. But anyway. Who made the motion?
we made the motion.
Yeah,
I
we
did.
did.
You did, and then
You
she
and I.
second, so it's already, there's a motion and a second.
You can recommend,
Recommend that to be 100.
yeah, you can
My
do that,
motion.
and then if you want.
Well, I don't know how you guys approve the salary schedule, so.
So 100, I don't want.
You can recommend
the
to,
certificate
yeah,
and
then
then
once it
we can
gets a
go back.
certificate, they can always bring it back. They did that, like, number 1 and 2. For the ROTC, they can bring it back and request that the $40.
And I think 7 should have been tabled.
But, if there's no second, it's not going.
We second,
I'll
she
second
second.
it. Oh.
Okay, I guess there's a question about the 140 or the term regular
I
substitute teacher.
recommend it at $100. So is that okay with the seconding party? If somebody wants to make substitute, that's okay.
When is this person gonna start substitute teaching, or is he already substitute teaching right now?
No, he's not, he hasn't started yet. He would start as soon as the board approves.
No. I'm
But-
thinking
but
about
he-
that too,
he-
because I would think he would have to have a certificate first in order to start teaching.
Well, he would have to have a substitute certificate on file before he can go to the classroom.
Correct.
Has he had that? No?
Yeah, so it's in, yeah, he's applied for it, it's in process. The problem is the Department of Ed doesn't do walk-ins anymore like they used to, because you used to be able to walk in, get your sub certificate, and walk out on the same day. They're not open, so you can't go in and do walk-in stuff, so everything is submitted through online, so we're just waiting for his substitute certificate, but all the applications are. But no, he can't go in the classroom and start until he has it in his hand.
Madam President, I'd like to make an amendment motion, and my amendment motion is to table this item to avoid administration bringing it back to us to make that our $40 amendment. Because as superintendent mentioned, he can't go into the classroom without a certificate anyway. So I would recommend to just table this item until the individual has the proper documentation, and then we present it back to the board.
Okay, there's a motion, a substitute motion on the floor. Any second?
I'll go ahead and second that.
Okay. Ms. Miranda seconded that motion, so, okay, let's, I guess we vote on the substitute motion first. Should I make a different dish? Oh.
Madam Chair, Chair Lady, I think I'll withdraw my motion because what Mark and Marion saying is that we should wait until the whole thing is resolved. So I think it's a better idea than just going ahead and trying to mess around with the salary. Okay, I think substitute motion.
Okay, substitute motion and.
It's no longer
Miss-
substitute,
Miss-
no, it's a motion. So I would do mine.
Okay, so then I'll read, since
See what she-
my colleague, Ms. Ellen withdrew her main motion, I'll entertain a main motion, and my motion is to table this item.
Okay, any second on that one?
I'll go ahead and second that.
A second by Ms. Miranda. Okay, any question, comment?
Okay, roll call vote, Dorothy Ossie,
You guys are confusing me. I oppose.
Ramona Elwood,
I oppose.
Mark Little,
Yes.
Bessie Allen,
For tabling, yes.
Miranda Tui,
Yes.
three in favor, two opposed, zero abstentions.
Okay, let's go to the next item, 7.9.
7.9, discussion and possible action to approve to offer employee contracts to the following emergency certified teachers. These are not substitutes. These are actual contracted in the classroom full-time. They've been in the classroom this year. They're in programs to actually complete their teaching certificate. So this is the one you were talking about with the 3-year limit. This is the emergency, but they're not in their 3rd year, so they still have time that we can rehire them. And that is Starla McCurtain, who's at the middle school, Roxanne Rodriguez is at the elementary school, Lucinda John, Crystal Bino, and Charmaine Mike are all at the elementary school. So these are current teachers who are doing they're on emergency certificates now, and they're still eligible for next year, and they're in programs to actually complete their standard certification.
Madam President, I'd like to make a motion to approve the individuals as recommended.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, motion by Mr. Little, second by Ms. Ellen. Any questions, comments? No comments or questions? Roll call vote?
Dorothy Ossie,
Yes.
Ramona Elwood,
Yes.
Mark Little,
Yes.
Bessie Allen,
Yes.
Miranda Tui,
Yes.
5 in favor, 0 opposed, 0 abstentions.
Next, item 7.10, thank you.
7.10, discussion and possible actions to approve the hire of maintenance worker with the waste management technician. Job description for SY, well, this would be now, for starting SY 2020-2021, because the position's been vacant all year. Well, actually, the position's been vacant since it was created. Mr. Harvey Deal, grade 9, step 1, $17 an hour.
A motion for approval?
I'll second.
Okay, motion by Ms. Ellen, second by Mr. Little. Any questions, comments? Okay, roll call vote?
Dorothy Ossie,
Yes.
Ramona Elwood,
Yes.
Mark Little,
Yes.
Bessie Allen,
Here, yes.
Miranda Tui,
I'm falling asleep. Yes.
He's getting tired and I think we're hungry.
5 in favor, 0 opposed, 0 abstentions.
Yes, okay.
Okay, 7.11.
7.11, discussion and possible action to rescind school year 2021-2022 employee contract offers to the following classified staff: Adrian Gray Eagle and Jerry Jack Jr. They were issued their contracts for the next year and rejected those contracts. The time period expired, so those positions basically are considered vacant. If they wanted to reapply, they could, but they basically declined the contract offer that was presented to them.
Is a motion on the floor?
I'll go ahead and motion to approve the rescinding of the school year 2021-22 contract offers to the people listed here on 7.11.
Second,
I'll go ahead and second that.
Miranda, second. Any questions, comments? No comments or question, roll call vote,
George Bianci,
yes?
Alana Nelwood,
Yes.
Mark Little,
Yes.
Bessie Allen,
Yes.
Miranda Tui,
Yes.
5 in favor, 0 opposed, 0 abstentions.
Okay, go to 7.12.
7.12, discussion of possible action to approve the resignation of the following employees. Number 1 is Carly Holiday, currently a math teacher at the middle school. This is effective at the end of her contract, so she's finishing the year. She's resigning for next year. Verna Clinton, who's at the 3rd grade, again, resigning at the end of her current contract. Sherry Peshlikai, her resignation is not at the end of her contract. It's effective March 31st. And she's the one that I noted earlier too, if the board would entertain that if a position is vacant, she'd be eligible to reapply. Her resignation is based on basically childcare issues and the fact that Navajo Nation is still closed. And then Kimberly DL, bus driver, is effective at the end of her current contract, and Edgar Daddy Security was effective April 2nd.
We'll go ahead and motion to approve the recommendation.
Okay,
Resignations.
motion by Ms. Norwood, second,
I'll second the motion.
second by Ms. Allen. Any questions, comments?
I have a question on Ms. Ashton. Looking at the documents here, she's been here for 16 years.
That's why I'm asking the board that if her situation changes and you know, she can come back to work, that we would, she would be eligible for rehire.
She couldn't take a family act leave or something?
Childcare doesn't qualify under FMLA. so
No.
there's
Yeah, that's,
Wow.
Maternity leave, I mean, if you're caring for an infant or maternity leave or something does, but just general childcare is not a qualifier under FMLA.
is any of her. Did she get served executive session notice?
Well, she did, but all I know is that it's, I mean, there's not a whole lot I can say other than what I've already said, is that it's a childcare issue that, because her children were at our daycare facility that's over there that Navajo Nation runs, but they haven't reopened. So there's no real timeline for them to reopen at this point, so that's.
Wow.
Because
I wish something could be worked out.
Well, we can't talk about her now. That's the reason why I'm asking, has she been served her notice?
She did, but there's no, I mean, under policy, there's nothing that qualifies for that kind of extended leave.
Like what age does the maternity leave?
Under,
Under the district policy.
well, that is just FMLA. There's no specific district policy. It's just whatever the FMLA says.
Okay, all right, so if there's no other question, roll call vote,
So how long has she already been out of work so far?
A week.
Since that date,
since March 31st?
Basically, it's,
Is-
all options have been exhausted as far as leave.
Does she have the option of doing, instruction from home?
She probably has a lot of kids, so she can't even do that.
Yeah, she's already used her, FCC, like I said, all options have been exhausted at this point. Because this has been all 3 quarters of the year so far. I mean, we've just basically used all the FCCRA, we've used everything to this point, so it's.
Any other questions? Roll call vote?
Dorothy Osborne,
Yes.
Ramona Allen,
Yes.
Mark Little,
I abstain.
Bessie Allen,
Well. The only reason I oppose is Ms. Pastor.
Ernest Sweet,
Yes.
wait, 1 in favor, 2 opposed.
I'm the only one that,
You have 3 that voted yes here, 1 opposed and 1 abstention.
Oh, okay.
3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1.
3-1-1.
3-1.
3, 1, 1. Make it 6.
So that-
With Chris.
So
With
we've
Chris.
already addressed 7.13 and 7.14, so now we're down to 8, which is
Motion
8.1.
for adjournment?
Motion by Ms. Allen adjourn.
I'll second.
Mr. Little,
Dorothy Osborne,
yes.
Ramona Allen,
Should
Yes.
say no.
Yes.
Bessie Allen,
Yes.
Ernest Sweet,
Yes.
5 in favor.
Did you say no? Dorothy?
What the goodness.
Like you voted
Wait,
no
wait,
on
no.
adjournment? You want to stay here forever?
Let's stay here. Have somebody bring me lunch. Dinner. Dinner.
Just sign the board agent on the, this is disposal listing.
Right here, yeah.
Oh. There's 5.
So how are we trying to do the sale? I mean, are we gonna?
No, she's just gonna sell them to,
I spitter.
yeah.
Can I
a
bid on
company.
it? No, no. Can't even bid on it.
I think most of
I'm
the
just
items
kidding.
she's selling to Phoenix.
Actually, most of the stuff. is
Good
sold.
night.
Yeah.
Don't forget your sandwich.
Well, I don't want to start a junk anyway.
Yeah, we already have a bunch of junk laying there.
I didn't actually see.
Hey,
but there's supposed
I
to
guess
be
you can
three
put
of
in the
those.
dates for me.
I think it's in the refrigerator.
Okay.
Huh, these ones.
They're different. You have to be careful with those because they fall out.
Here. Oh, I thought she was somewhere else.
All right.
The signature.
Everybody's
Yep, thank you.
calling
See
me.
ya.
They want that money. Good job, board. Nice weekend or
Have a safe trip back, Mark.
Yes, thank you.
Are you going up over
No,
the?
around.
Watch out for those horses.
There's a lot of them.
you can go through it this way. The road's okay.
It usually goes all the way around.
No horses too that way, I think.
I don't think it goes through the rock.
Sir,
Not the rough road.
sir, that galagun sa yan at shita pita ikas hile stop it. Oh
How many
God.
times don't know how many
Fire
times that
switching and-
like that.
And all my sensors were
Even here,
beeping.
go over a lot, over the Lucas Mountain.
Oh,
Deer, no, crazy.
oh,
Right,
They have a
Port City.
leaf slip,
oh,
and then- Actually, I could probably put it in summer too. I've already planned my summer vacation.
wow.
I'm going home to family again.
There was a snowstorm in Sioux Falls.
Oh, yeah.
Really?
They've had,
I always think of him when I.
they've had
Hear
every
about Sioux Falls.
season you can imagine in the last few weeks. It's been hot, it's been cold, it's been snow, it's been thunderstorms, it's been.
Oh, there's a snowstorm over
They
there.
mu- they- Huh?
Gavin.
Oh. Here. Somebody might take it, huh?
Everybody tells me.
Somebody that take the gavel and be running around out there with it.